Get 5 coffins ready.
Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're doing a ADC tier list for Smite in patch 11.2. So this is going to be for around Diamond and below and Ranked. That's where my experience lies. So let's get into it. We're going to start with Mr. Amuzen Cobb. Definitely more of a mid laner. But I would say he's like B, because he's a B, but probably B, just because it's much easier to gank the duo lane, much easier to pressure out the duo lane side of the map, more stuff to invade, more easy to invade, stuff like that. It's easier to push him out, to gank him, stuff like that. Obviously the lane's way longer, so it's easier for him to put himself out of position, harder for him to get out of a prop buff fight if he gets ganked. So it's a lot of little extra little flaws that make AMC not quite as good as an ADC, but he is still a strong character. Very good wave pressure. Level 2 gank is awesome with this character because you just 3-2 and you slow someone and do a trillion damage. It's really nice, but not quite like on Mr. Anhur. Anhur I would still say is S tier. Like level 2, well, not even level 2, like level 1 through 5, this god actually feels unbeatable. And if he gets ahead, he can completely control that side of the map by himself. If this god doesn't get ganked, he will control the side of the map unless he gets like first blooded or something. It's god's pretty absurd right now. And late game, he's fine. I wouldn't say he's amazing. He obviously can't go Silver Branch, unfortunately, but like pretty disgusting. Pretty disgusting character for such a huge portion of the game, and is still solid in the late game. Now that we're getting out of the crit meta, that hurts him a little bit, but on the whole, he can still build any build just fine. So whatever you want to build, he can build it, and he's gonna feel pretty good with it. Other than Silver Branch, probably. He's a really good Odibo abuser as well because he shreds the protections for Odysseus bow. Apollo, yeah, probably B. Apollo has really good 1v1 potential. His split push is incredible. One of the best split pushes in the game. There's a lot of things he does effectively. I mean, I've soloed infinite people with Apollo this season because people underestimate how good the prop buff plus the protections on your 2 is. But he doesn't have an ultimate you can use in a 1v1 fight. So if you're against a strong 1v1 ultimate, like say an Anhur or an AMC, you're gonna lose 100%. But if you're against weaker ones like Charybdis ultimate, for example, a Jingwei ultimate, if you're against stuff like that, you can actually usually win a 1v1. And then like even if it's split, like you both have to bring yourself back, at least you can just ult back to lane. And speaking of his ult, you can't really get ganked on Apollo, and you can't really judge how loud you want your music to be. But yeah, I'll put Apollo like there. Lots of good potential on the god, but you can't always realize it over the course of a match. Artemis is like the opposite. Like the potential on this god is you press 2 and you basic attack and you don't die. I mean, the ultimate comes up sometimes, but there's so much CC immunity and so many people are just playing around their beads that it's rare that it ever works, and then that's her self-heal gone. That's all of her self-heal just gone instantly, and in the flash. It's pretty sad. But her laning's fine. If her entire team's playing through her, she's okay. Yeah, that's that be that. I think she's like around C. Cernanos, very solid god. Just like every time I get against a Cern, he wins the lane against me because he's really good wave pressure, and then my jungler doesn't gank him, and he's extremely easy to gank. So annoying. So if he doesn't get ganked a lot, yeah, pretty good, but very free kill for most meta junglers can deal with him very easily. Even like Arachne, Bastet, and stuff, they deal with him like that, very easy. If you're a hunter who can bait out his beats, freest kill in North America, like. So easy to kill this god. So there's a little bit of flaws there, but there's no denying his lane presence is really good. His jungle clear is really good. He has his benefits, but I wouldn't say he's amazing just because he's so killable. Who's next? Oh, now we got a bunch of gods. Blah blah blah. Yeah, Charybdis I would say is like A. She's not amazing, but the buff on her 1 was really good. Gives her amazing lane presence in the early and mid game. Like once you get a first time on Charybdis, you just one shot the wave with your 1, and you can still like keep on pounding the enemy lane opponent. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nasty. But yeah, she just doesn't really have a very good ultimate. I got better at it as I kept on playing her. But on the whole, it really hurts her 1v1 potential not having an ultimate she can rely on. It sucks. Like even if you hit the ultimate, like it's not really that much damage. They don't have to use beads on anything in your kit other than the ultimate too, so they can just hold on to their beads as well. So it's just it's so painful. She's so close to being so good, and then she just has like the worst ultimate you've ever seen. Like she has a snowplow for an ultimate. That actually sounds kind of cool. So no, it's not a snowplow. It's a snow shovel that has a hole in it. So Chernobog, I would say maybe better than Charybdis, but he is a little slow. That is the one thing I noticed with Chernobog is that his 1-2 is a great little combo. Very slow though. That's fine in the early game, and he actually has very good wave pressure with Golden Shard. So his early game and his level 2 are both really, really good, which is dangerous because he's a late game hunter. But in the late game, if he tries to 1-2 you, it's actually really slow, and he can get jumped on pretty quickly. So he's not perfect, and his 1 has flaws. Not his 1. His 3 has flaws, but if you're in a certain matchup where like those flaws can't be exploited with the 3, he's actually pretty kind of disgusting. And obviously you can split push endlessly with Chernobog, not as effectively as Apollo, because it's a little more limiting about where you can go with the ultimate. You know how it works. But on the whole, painful god to try and deal with. Really painful. But he doesn't quite control 1v1s or the lane quite as well as an Anhur can. And a lot like Charybdis, he doesn't actually have like a 1v1 ultimate. So, and obviously if he gets ganked or something, you got to get lucky and make sure like your soul laner's not about to die or something. Like try and hope like your soul laner's winning and you could just teleport over there and be like, hi, and then run away. But it does actually cost a lot of time too, doing all that. So you got to be decisive as well. And land your basic attacks, which I can't do on that god. Chiron is similar to an AMC. I'll put him at like he's going to stay up probably the back of A, but I can't deny he has very, very good wave presence. And again, just like in Chiron in the mid lane, if you aren't against gods who can deal with your 3 very well, he lives every single time. And if you're in a situation where the cleanse is really good, he lives every single time. He deals with Ares very well in that regard as well. Cleanses the chains, cleanses the ult. Very good against that. And the ultimate as well. Great 1v1 tool. Finally a 1v1 tool. I think like in terms of like you really just want him in mid with that ability build. Because if you go ability build, you don't have a tower shredder, you don't have an objective shredder, stuff like that. If you go anything other than ability based on this god, you might as well have just like picked Kuzenbo and gone attack speed. That's the effectiveness of Chiron with an attack speed build. I mean, it's not like you still have basic attacks. It's just I don't know. It's like throwing Q-tips at somebody. It's not very good. Yeah, Kronos is probably down here. Not unplayable because he can kill towers. He can burst people pretty well. He just needs to reach late game every single game or else he's useless. That's the issue with this god for me. Because if you, again, like with Artemis, if you hit late game and your team enables you, you're probably going to kill a lot of people. You can't deny that the stun's pretty good. The 1 does do a ton of damage. Having Poly with your 2, a lot of damage. And your 2 enables you to shred through Fire Giant, shred through towers, stuff like that. Just as well as like an Artemis 2, Chernobog 2. I don't actually have any other gods with stems on there right now, but you get what I'm saying. Cupid is really rough. I don't think he's awful, but I would say probably, yeah. You gotta be in a situation where the ultimate is very, very good. Like, the ultimate's definitely gonna counter some stuff on the enemy team. Like, if you're against, like, a King Arthur or something, Cupid's really nice into that. Who else am I thinking of? Oh, yeah, if you're against, like, Thoth or something, like, the ultimate's really nice for dealing with stuff like that. Where gods who struggle against slows and cripples, ooh, Cupid's nice. That's it, though. The gods can 1v1 pretty well, actually. So if you're able to get your Odysseus bow build online with Cupid, and you're able to just like shred through the wave and stuff, and then you just like dash on someone, harp bomb them, and then just like basic attack them a bunch, the 1v1's pretty good. And then you just ult them as soon as they use a movement ability to get away from you. It's not bad, but it's just like, why would I pick that, though? But I mean, I'm thinking about that in my head. Like, Artemis would be the same way, though. Like, Artemis can't do anything to like Cupid, for example, for a huge amount of the game. Healer Cupid and Assault? Oh, and Assault, I mean, I would say he's better than Kronos, maybe not better than Artemis, but yeah, I don't think he's dead. I don't think the god's dead. There's just not a lot of reason to play him other than to like 1v1 people. I feel the same way about Dan, so I don't think Dan's is that bad. I think, me personally, I have lost to Dan's recently. I think I just misplayed against him, because like, you just block his ultimate, and a non-1v1, obviously. If you 1v1 to Dan's, chances are going to lose. Most gods lose to him in a 1v1. But if you're ganking him, don't crowd around him. Just have one person block the ultimate. It's fine. It's fine. You kill him every time. He's very free. And all you need to do is go like mannequins or something against him. Or if you're an ability hunter, go Bluestone, and his 3 is pretty worthless. Yeah, Cupid. I don't think Cupid's dead. I mean, these guys actually are teetering on being like unplayable, and these guys are very playable. So maybe I want to move them all down. We'll see. We'll see how that feels by the end. Actually, I think it's still S. Maybe better than on her. He just does everything you want him to do. Like the way that the way stupid 2 works with Golden Shard, because you could just 2 the enemy lane opponent, and then you have a bunch of attack speed, so you can just Golden Shard the wave down. It's so cringe. It's been like that all season, and I hate it. And his 1 does so much damage. Like they gotta reduce the amount of arrows you get with your 1, because it's like 200 extra damage like early on. It's kind of wild. Like once you get your first item, it's like 150 bonus once you hit all 4 shots. Ugh, it's gross. This god's gross, and you can build whatever you want on him. Crit, ability based, obviously not very good. Ability based is kind of whatever on him, but he does have a lot of poke for ability based. But yeah, crit, attack speed doesn't matter. He can build either one. That's fine. He can overcap with the Silver Mance if you need him to. Yeah, painful, painful how strong that god is. And people don't ban him because there's so much good stuff to ban in the game. Heimdallr, on the other hand, I don't know. I don't know about Heimdallr. He's like bad Dan's. Yeah, I'm glad I have the C tiers opened up now. Because he's like Dan's, except like he has his 3 and that's it. Because his 3 is sometimes very good, but in other matchups it's really bad. Like if you're the one against Dan's, like maybe you can ult away the Dan's, and then you can get your 3 for free because the Dan's can't taunt or ult you out of it. But if you're against Apollo as well to mez you out of the 3, and like you're just such a free gank a lot of the time. And in fights you're pretty free as well because you move so slowly while you're basic attacking, and your basic attacks are so slow. Like you have to really work to enable this guy. But I will say his lane pressure is really great. It's better than what Cupid and Artemis bring. Certainly better than what Chronos brings. And if he is enabled, it's pretty close to being as strong as an Artemis, stronger than a Cupid. And the ultimate can be really effective sometimes. Not every time, though. Who's up next? Is it my boy? I love Ho Yi, but they gotta buff his attack speed, man. This god is so bad because of his attack speed. Because his 1's clear. I mean, it's not good, but it's okay. And then he can't follow it up fast enough with Golden Shard because his attack speed is so slow. I actually went Griffin Wing on this god. I might still do it. It might still actually be viable. Or maybe I'd just go just use in that slot. I went it like second item because his attack speed, I couldn't do anything. Because I was just sitting there trying to basic attack down the wave, and I was getting a basic attack every 25 minutes. True. I mean, the jump has its flaws, but the jump is actually, it depends on the matchup. It can be actually a very effective escape, depending on who you're against. Like, if they can't follow you over walls, it's actually pretty good. But the ult kind of sucks. I wouldn't want them to increase the slow on such a big AoE, but it isn't very good. Maybe they can increase the damage on his ult. Or maybe make it not hit so many times, but do the same damage. Like, make it hit like 5 times, but it does the same amount of damage. Something like that. Little things like that, but the biggest one would be the attack speed. His attack speed's terrible. You can't do anything. Certainly can't go Silver Branch in this god. But, he likes the attack speed build that's going around right now. But now his passive is even less worth it because people aren't going crit as often. You can still pick him into Mercury. It's not a bad matchup. Yeah, I wouldn't say he's anything special. I skipped Freya? Oh, I did. My bad. Yeah, Freya, probably like the top of this, maybe like here. Because she can carry really hard. But she is like a Heimdallr, probably a little bit better. Yeah, same idea as Heimdallr where you gotta enable her. Because she can get farmed really hard. Like if you go, but the problem is, if you go a Geb with the Freya, you have 0 pressure at all. Like it's terrible. So you need someone aggressive with her, and her aggression is pretty good actually with the slow. She does a lot of damage early. So... like, it's not the end of the world with this god, but if you get ganked a lot, like, your ultimate's a 100-second cooldown. So if you get ganked a lot, it's going to be a big, big problem. And you can't go CDR on this god at all. So, yeah, a bit of an issue. If they made it 90 seconds, I think the god actually benefits a lot. Her 1v1's good, though, like a Cupid. And obviously she does a lot more damage than, like, a Cupid. About the same damage as Heimdallr as well. And the ult can save you. It's just everyone's waiting for it is the problem, I think. Ishtar is probably A, though. I mean, a lot of people said she was S at the start of the season. I don't know. I don't know about that. I think she's probably A. Her 1v1's really good. That's for sure. Well, and she could build... yeah, actually, I'll probably put her at the back of S. Her ult's amazing for self-peel. Great for team fights. 2 is really good in team fights as well, actually. And then earlier on in the match, you have your 1 and your 3 for 1v1s. I mean, pretty well-rounded character. I just think she doesn't excel too much in anything. That's my one thing. She has the team fight presence of like Hachi with like some of the early stuff that like on her can do. It's just not quite as good. And if you overcommit with your dash and stuff, yeah, pretty free kill generally speaking because you can block her dash, and her dash doesn't go that far even though it is fast. She feels meh to play. Yeah, she feels pretty bad until you get some attack speed. It's like Hou Yi in that regard, but you know, I think her tools. She's like what Hou Yi kind of wants to be, isn't she? Same with on her. Like just lots of CC with lots of good 1v1 tools. That's what she feels like. But yeah, her ult is too good in team fights, I think, to put her any lower. Yeah, her pressure is as good as Cherno. But she's more of a sure thing in late game team fights. Like if Cherno just shows up to a late game team fight and isn't split pushing or anything, I mean, I'll say Ishtar's better. Izanami, yeah, I don't really see the point of this god. I'll put her... I'll say Freya's probably better than her. It's just... Heimdallr's pressure, a little better earlier. Yeah, like here feels good. Her late game's good. But she's so awful early, and level 2 ganks are still pretty popular. I think she's like here. Just too easy to kill. Way too easy to kill early game. Her basic attacks are so slow. I would like to see, like, her basic attacks be faster early game. Not attack speed-wise, just projectile-wise. Yeah, Jing, every time I play her, it's just like, why did I pick this god? Why did I do this to myself? Because her damage is pretty good late game. Because you can go Kin's build with like one crit item, and you actually crit a bunch. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good little thing. But her level 2 is terrible. Just awful. And she gets ganked pretty easily. And the thing is with Jing, like, the thing is they just need to force you out once, and then you can't do much damage back to them. You get back to lane quickly, but then you just watch them do your purple buff. And you're just like, oh, well, I got back to lane quickly, but they still invaded me. So... yeah, it feels kind of pointless. And her late game's like as good as Izanami's, but her early game's even, well, I wouldn't say it's even worse because she is safer. But like early mid, like her Izanami's mid game's better, I would say. Yeah, Marty and ADC, kind of the same deal as AMC, but a little bit better. I'll say probably better than Chiron. He's definitely more of a mid laner. Again, same sort of issues as AMC, and maybe below Chiron. Because Chiron can deal with ganks better. Marty just can't deal with ganks in the dual lane. It's much harder to survive ganks than in like the mid lane. It's really dangerous to go for prop buff. You need to get your wards down like deep, because if you don't see the jungler coming and they get into anywhere close to your lane while you're on prop buff, you're so dead. You're actually so dead. So it's definitely rougher. But I mean, on the whole, it's pretty nice. Pretty nice to have an ADC role. Wow, I'm already on M. Look at me go. Yeah, Medusa largely the same thing, but better than Marty's kind of crazy. I'll say she's like here. Yeah, just lots and lots and lots of damage on this god. Very good at getting ahead. Amazing wave pressure, so good. Then you hit late game and it's not so good. She falls off so hard. I win every single early game I play with Medusa, and then almost always lose late game, and just like have to have my teammates, you know, help me out a little bit here, help me out to damage a little bit here mid laner, because yeah, her damage falls off pretty good. A pretty good lick. But on the whole, really enjoyable god. Does what you ask her to. For the most part, I would say maybe a little under AMC, just because she doesn't have any prot shred in her kit. That's the one thing she lacks. But on the whole, I mean, you could definitely play her. Definitely a good god. Wow, I actually really like this list so far. I'm really happy with this one. This feels super definitive. Terrible. Awful god. Awful. Awful. So bad. So bad. You have to have your team play through you for no reason, for no good reason, other than like a high damaging ultimate. And a high damaging one sometimes. Like, you gotta play through Neith to have her not die, and in return, you get mediocrity. and a god with no built-in CC immunity. It's rough. Oh, Newt, of course. Newt, I think will probably be S, maybe better than Ishtar. Does a lot of things Ishtar does, but a little bit better, I would say, because she gets a little bit easier aggression. She's literally just, main thing is just she's easier, I would say, than Ishtar, and pumps out a little bit more damage. Like her 2 is more bursty than Ishtar's 2. Her 1, I think late game, maybe Ishtar's 2, like 1-2 takes it. Uh, it's close though. Actually, these guys are very similar, aren't they? Oh, I probably should have made that comparison in my video. I think these should be able to jump forward too. Anything other than moving in one direction for the same range every time. Anything other than that would be greatly appreciated for that god. Hopefully I saw she's coming to Smite 2. I hope they rework her backflip because I like the weaves. I like the idea with the two. Um, the ultimate's pretty cool, but yeah, just her backflip's so bad. But yeah, I like Newt there. I can't guarantee she'll be better than on her though. On her and Hachi. Her damage numbers might be high enough to pip them, but for now I think that's fair. Rom. Yeah, I think I overrated Rom a little bit at the start of the season. I played him a little bit too much. I think he's just okay. I think you want a little bit more from your hunters, because like look at who I put above him. Like insane AOE pressure from these guys, insane CC from Anhur, Newt, and Ishtar, split push potential with Chernobog, crazy wave pressure with Charybdis. Like Charybdis does a lot of what Rom wants to do, other than the snipes. But the snipes are very effective. Um, yeah, on the whole, it's just like this god does a lot of decent things, but it's just like he doesn't have that specific little thing that makes you go, oh yeah, okay, Rom here. This is it. This is a Rom game. Hachi's more of that all rounder, really. He's the really good all rounder. Yeah, Oleron's dead character. Maybe better than Neith. It's hard to say. Oleron. It probably is worse than Neith at this point. He doesn't do any damage anymore. Even if you reach hyper late game, you don't do enough damage. I don't think. Scotty's okay. A lot like Hou Yi, where it's very easy to gank and takes too long to come online, and then once you come online, it's not really that worth it. But it's not as bad as like a Neith or something. Her 1v1 potential is insane, so that's good. Soul's pretty bad too, but she does have really good lane pressure. I can't deny that. Actually, very similar to Scotty in that regard, but maybe a little bit better. If you leave Soul alone in your lane, she will solo your tower in like 30 seconds. Her wave pressure early is really good, but for some reason the god just like it's crazy. Every time I played Soul, every time I play against the Soul, it's the same thing. Wow, this god's really strong early and mid game. Watch out, guys. Watch out for the Soul. We don't check her. We don't do anything. She just doesn't do damage late game. It's so weird. It's so weird. I don't know what causes that, because I see all different builds. I went against attack speed. I played as a mage build. Every single build you go, she just stops doing damage late game. It's really weird. I think your best bet's probably going mannequins on this god and just shredding through everything on the map. Like she has her uses, and it can feel worth it sometimes, just to have this like dedicated objective shredder. But you do need other people to kind of step up for you late game, though. In terms of damage, it's weird. Yeah, Older struggles to find a place, but I think he's still pretty good. I think he's like on par with Dan's. It's the same idea as Dan's, as like, yeah, he's very gankable, but you can't really beat him in a one-on-one. Generally speaking, if you play it right, you fit everything. It is hard to beat him in a one-on-one, but same idea as Dan's, gets blown up late game anyway. So you can get 5 levels ahead. Doesn't matter, you can still get blown up instantly if the enemy team plays around you well. But I think he has a few more tricks than Dan's. Because like Dan's is a little more straightforward to counter. Like just get a dot on him, his 3 doesn't count. Block his ultimate and don't crowd around it. His ultimate doesn't count. Like Ulrich is a little more tricky. And they both require you to use your beads to power through stuff. So I'll put him like there. He's a bit better 1v1er than Apollo. Yeah, we put him above CERN too. He does a lot of things CERN does better. But Medusa's safer, better wave presence early. So I would say that's where the buck would stop there. Uller was you. Don't. What song was I doing? Oh, that's it. That's embarrassing. Nope, looking pretty. Oh, Xbalanque. Aha, got him. Yeah, Xbalanque. Yeah, he's basically like good CERN. That very similar to Rom, but maybe a little bit better than Rom. Because Xbalanque Ultimate really can mess up a team fight, but you kind of got to have the sixth sense or be in comms with your teammates. If you're in comms with your teammates and they like tell you Xbalanque ult right now, okay, got it, then it actually is really effective at shutting down fights. Yeah, being in the ADC lane, being the dual lane, makes it more difficult to pull that off every time, but it is definitely possible. Death's Toll also got buffed as well. You could do Death's Temper with crit. You could do Death's Temper with even with the attack speed was fine. So that's pretty nice with him. He finally can stop having as many mana issues. His laning phase is really annoying and hard to deal with. But against like the burstier hunters, like ability hunters, he can struggle against those because they don't just sit there eating your basic attacks. They just burst you and walk away. That's hard to deal with. That's Shibulanke. And certain junglers are very good at ganking him, like Thor and Susano. They can chase him too easily. People still stop for the ult at the end? Oh, absolutely. I do that sometimes. But that's my list for ADC right now. Right here, right now, 11.2. That's my ADC tier list. What do you guys think? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments. What would you change? And thank you for watching.